40 to 50% of marriages end in divorce, and 60% of those divorces involve kids. I'm sure that at least a few of you in this classroom come from families of divorce, and my parents got divorced when I was a sophomore in high school. And this is one of the few family pictures that we have, just so you can see who's all involved. The divorce was the biggest event to happen in my life, and I was not the same person by the end of it. Thankfully, my dad was there for me throughout the whole thing, and I will be sharing with you what initiated the divorce, how it ended, and how it changed the relationship with me and my dad. The night that things went bad is a night that I will never forget. I never had a close relationship with either of my parents, but I was always closer to my dad because he always defended me to my mom. From my observations and from what people have told me, my mom never liked me as much as my other siblings, so it always made our relationship really difficult. Around 8 o'clock one school night, me, my dad, and my sister Maggie were eating dinner at our 8-person kitchen table in our brightly painted yellow kitchen with a giant china cabinet, so it felt very cramped in there. And there was beach-themed wallpaper because my mom thought that was classy at the time when we redid our kitchen. And we had a big bay window in the back that looked out into a immaculate backyard in the daytime to give off the look of perfection from the outside. Above that window, there was a quote, "The Wilsons, a family that eats together, stays together," which was ironic because only half my family was there that night. My brother David wasn't there because he avoided the house and went out with friends to not deal with the drama that my parents brought to the table. Halfway through dinner, I started to wonder where my mom was because it was typical for her to come home around 7 o'clock, but it was also typical for her to go out after work and go shopping or drinking with friends. After several failed attempts at her answering her phone, she finally picked up, and she told me that she did not feel appreciated enough by my family, so she would not be coming home that night. At that point in the conversation, my dad took the phone, and they had a loud argument. While me and my sister were listening in on that, we finished our dinner, which was cold at that point. By the time the phone call ended, there was a negative vibe in the room, and what was supposed to be a cheerful and inviting kitchen made me feel very caged in. My brother finally came home, but he didn't notice anything off because to some degree we were all used to our parents fighting. My mom never came home that night, but she came back the next day while no one was home, packed a suitcase, and stayed at my grandparents' house for a while. That night had a bigger impact on my life than I expected, and I had to adjust to a new normal. After a while, my mom moved back in, and from the outside, everything looked normal with my family, but inside the house, something seemed off. That didn't last long, and my mom moved back in with her parents permanently until her dad bought her a house that was less than a mile from mine. And at some point, my parents tried to make things work for the kids, but that was short-lived, and the lawyers were brought back in, and the divorce turned nasty, costly, and it was very long. I got closer with my dad over the years that it took for the divorce to happen because he always had my back with whatever happened with my mom, and he was one of the few people who understand the kind of person that my mom is and what it's like to have to deal with her. And he's a very well-balanced person, so he was able to put on the role of both parents for me and my siblings, and I'm forever grateful that we got to stay living with him after the divorce. If the events didn't happen that night, my parents never got divorced, my life would be totally different and not for the better. The phone call and how the divorce ended had the biggest impact on my life that has ever happened. And I'm sure that people in this room who come from families of divorce have their own unique story to tell. And while 40 to 50% of marriages end in divorce, nobody really takes into consideration the events leading up to divorce and how process takes.